Welcome everyone to another episode of Power Core Productions and Podcastings. I am your host, Jerron Harrington. Back to hit you another video, and today we're going to be continuing What If Tanjiro Had Venom, Demon Slayer Dark Fury. Now before we get into today's video, I do want to remind you guys to please vote in the community tab for what iteration of ninja teams you want to see in What If Naruto Was the Avatar. Please remember, voting ends Thursday at midnight, and all of your votes and suggestions will be taken into account when the story comes out on Friday. I do want to encourage you guys to remember to vote and to continue to check the community tabs, as that's where a lot of news and information will go whenever I'm not putting it in the video outro. So I do want you guys to keep that in mind going forward. And as always, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Power Core Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Currently, only 35.6% of you guys are actually subscribed watchers at the time. We still have around 64.4% that aren't subscribed. So again, when you're watching, if you could please just take the time to subscribe, hit that like button, hit that bell for post notifications. It really does do a lot for the channel and for the algorithm, and I do thank you for your support. And check more of what we have on Power Core Productions and Podcastings. We have plenty of other stories, and we have a lot more coming out in the near future. A lot of different projects and a lot of different videos for your enjoyment. So I do thank you for your time. Now, as always, let's get into today's video. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Tanjiro had prepared himself in his uniform, now ready to leave, as his Katsuragi Crow had now given him the assignment for his first mission, to head to a town that was in the southeast, as there was a case of children who were disappearing late at night, specifically young girls. Before Tanjiro would leave, however, his master would bid him farewell, giving him a few pointers. First and foremost, he would tell him of the Demon Slayer Corps' uniform, and how they were built to be extremely durable against low-level demons, giving him a layer of protection, also being water and fireproof. On top of that, he would have to take into account that he had venom as well, which served as a great line of defense against the demons. He would also note that Nezuko recovered much differently than other demons did, that instead of devouring human flesh and blood, she instead only needed to sleep in order to recover her strength, something he had taken note of during their stay. But finally, he would give them a warning of that of the demon, the only demon in the world capable of turning humans into demons, and the only one who could be capable of turning his sister back. A demon who had existed for over 1,000 years. His name, Muzan Kibutsuji. With that, Tanjiro would get Nezuko inside of the wooden chest that he had been built. Having venom coated in the symbiote, he would place it on his back with his sword at his side, waving to his sensei, bidding him farewell as he made his way out into the world, first arriving into the northwest. Thankfully, venom would prove to be a major benefit in a lot of ways. First and foremost, instead of taking nearly as long due to stopping him for rest, Tanjiro was basically able to put his body on autopilot, allowing him for a chance to sleep. Venom could basically keep going as long as necessary, keeping Tanjiro's body running at a steady pace. Of course, Venom would get hungry, so while Tanjiro was unconscious, Venom would use his tendrils to swipe at any of the flying ducks that happened to be in the vicinity. Of course, Tanjiro wasn't really too fond of Venom consuming wild duck at that rate. However, it was better wild duck than human, so he would just have to deal with coughing up some bird feathers every now and then. Thanks to Venom, commanding the body on autopilot, they were able to get to the village a full day ahead of time. In doing so, as they arrived to the gate, Tanjiro would use his sense of smell, combing over the land to see where the demons might be. In the dead of night, there would be a young couple who would be walking home. A young man, his name being Kazuma, with his fiancée, Satoko. As they were walking, the young man would turn around but for a brief moment. As he did, almost as if in a flash, his girlfriend would start to fall into the ground, feeling as if she were sinking into a swamp. She were almost but completely covered under the ground before a black whip would appear. Kazumi turning around to see what was happening, completely in shock as Tanjiro would be standing on one of the buildings. He would pull the young girl out of the swamp and back into Kazumi's arms. An arm reaching out, but an arm that was not entirely human. Instead, the arm was that of one of the demons. Tanjiro would enter into his Venom Oni form, his face and hands being covered in the symbiote, underneath his Demon Slayer Corps uniform. Donning the black mask, he would draw his sword. In a swift motion, he would aim it directly at the arm that sunk back into the earth. The young couple being fearful as to what was happening. Tanjiro would draw his sword back into its sheath as he would turn to them, asking if they were alright. They would both shockingly nod their heads. Tanjiro would explain that this were a dangerous area and that they needed to get home as quickly as possible. The young man would take the girl by the hand, suggesting that they go to his place for the night in order to keep her safe. Tanjiro would watch out for them as they would leave the alleyway. He would then jump back to a high post in the middle of the village, Venom enhancing his senses. He was already known for his keen sense of smell, but now everything had gone up, as if they had been multiplied by 100. He could feel every small tremor, every detail. He could sense every scent out within the village. The faint trace of the demon lurking all around. The demons continued to travel through underground in the swamp, using their blood demon arts, eventually making their way to another home where a young girl had now been drawn in as before. As Tanjiro made his way combing through the alleyways, his sword drawn and his nose high, Venom would speak to Tanjiro. "Kid, you'll need to keep your senses about you at all times." "Yeah, I know. I can smell them, but I can also smell traces of human. But I don't see them anywhere. I can tell that they're here, but it seems you need to trust more than your eyes. Think. If they're not where you can see them, but you can feel their presence, then it's obvious where they must be." After using some time to think, Tanjiro would realize what Venom meant, now seeing that they had to be below ground. He would take a deep breath as he would cut his sword in the symbiote. In doing so, he would look for the optimal spot before striking his blade into the ground. In that exact moment, a puddle would begin to form. A hand would reach out, and Tanjiro would shoot one of the black whips of symbiote out towards it, pulling at the hand that he could tell was human. Although he could feel a force that was dragging it back down, he would overpower it with the strength that he had been given from his own hard training, being amplified by Venom. Pulling the young girl out from the swamp, she would have a hard time breathing, but she was still alive. As Tanjiro held her in his arms, a demon would appear from the puddle, grinding its teeth profusely, sounding like dry nails on a chalkboard. They would see now the demon that they were dealing with, seeing how it worked and how it traveled. Now knowing what they were up against, Tanjiro would look for a safe area as he would sit still, keeping the young girl to his side as he kept his sword drawn. Another demon, however, would appear behind them, angered and snarling, as Tanjiro had now twice in a single night gotten in the way of his feast. You brat! Give her back to me! Every second that she stays out, she's becoming less and less pure. Fresh young meat, already 16 and tender. Tanjiro would keep his sword close to him, keeping the girl away from the demon, as another one would appear from one of the roofs of the housing, and another one from the other side. They all looked similar, so it seemed as though they were all three who were one, separated into different parts and referring to themselves as such. Now, other me. No need to become so hasty. It's easy for you to say. You've already had your fill. Where are they? They say that there have been young girls who have been disappearing in this town. What have you done to them? What have I done? The demon would reveal from his inner robe a string of hairpins and ties. If there was a girl that has gone missing in this area, and her hairpin is among this collection, then it means that she has already been devoured. Tanjiro would be sickened at what he had saw, seeing the number of hairpins that adorned the demon's robes, all of the innocent victims that had been killed, who couldn't have been saved. The less patient demon would begin to lunge at the unconscious girl once again, Tanjiro swinging and moving out of the way, now seeing as he was fighting on a defensive front. He needed to protect the girl, but he also had to take down the demons. And there was also the matter of asking about whoever Muzan was. As the three would begin their attack all at once, Tanjiro would use the 8th form, the Waterfall Basin, moving in a striking form. However, he would miss their vital spots just by a few inches, cutting away at a few of their arms that would eventually regrow themselves as they would disappear under the waters once again. Tanjiro would continue to strike whenever possible, using the 2nd form Water Wheel. He would strike at the demons once more. However, they would just narrowly dodge his escape once again, Venom telling him to focus and to keep control of his emotion. Tanjiro needed to be wise in doing so. Even he could lose focus of his training. As he would take a deep breath, he would try to see just where they would strike next. As 2 of them would look to jump him at once, a 3rd would make a beeline directly towards the girl. However, before he would even get the chance to grab her, the chest on Tanjiro's back would fly open. Nezuko, now in a state of anger, would kick back, launching her own furies and assault at the demons. Tanjiro was now getting to see just more of what his master had done for him. Before leaving, he had been told that he had placed Nezuko under a hypnotic suggestion, working in the way that she would see all humans as her own family, the one that she had lost, viewing them as her mother and as her siblings, and that any demon that were to attack any human, attack her family, they were to be viewed as her enemy. Tanjiro was also getting a chance to see just how well his sister could fight, and how much she had been enhanced in her demon state. Nezuko's increased strength and mobility, making her more than capable of holding her own in a fight. Tanjiro would look to her, asking her to take care of the girl and protect her while he dealt with the other 2. Nezuko turning and nodding her head, as she would stay to cover and watch over the girl. Tanjiro would reassume his Venom Oni form, his black mask returning to him. With his sword drawn, the two other demons would sink under into their swamp-like state, showing off the true fruition of their blood demon arts, as he would jump into the swamp behind them. As he went deeper into the dark, murky waters, he would see all of the destruction that the demons had caused. The tattered clothing and remains of all of their victims floating in the murky darkness. His rage starting to boil over, and even venom starting to feed into that rage. You were foolish to follow us down here, swordsman. You might have the edge on land, but in the water, ye reign supreme. For the simple fact that you are nothing but a mere human, and humans need to breed. You will fall just like the rest of them. The demons would have been right in this regard, if only they had come to realize that Tanjiro was not an ordinary human. With him being imbued with venom, the symbiote coursing through his veins, increasing his strength and his reflexes, Tanjiro, now focused in total concentration, would zip and move through the murky waters, the demons surprised, feeling as if his senses needed to have been completely incapacitated. However, that was far from the case, as even if they could block the senses of an ordinary human, Venom was far from ordinary. He countered every one of the demons' assault before eventually arriving in the middle of the swamp. The demons, believing that they had finally gotten the better of him, they had went in for the decisive kill. However, now Tanjiro was going to show the true fruits of his training. Using total concentration, he would combine water-breathing 6th form Water Wheel, venom-breathing 2nd form Longsword, the symbiote coating the Nichirin blade, extending it to almost 30 feet in length. As he began to swirl and move through the waters, the whirlpool turned from a bright blue to a dark and ever-piercing black, as the swirl of darkness would envelop the two demons, slicing them away in a whirlpool so strong and powerful that none could escape it, as the water proved to be the natural fighting place for that of the water-breathing style. With the demons now defeated, Tanjiro would grab the hairpins that had been stolen from the victims, shooting his way back to the surface where Nezuko was holding her own against the last remaining demon. While she was indeed strong and capable, ultimately though her moves were rather limited, and she had taken some damage. However, before she could even go in for another attack, the demon would already be next to her, blocking a few of her strikes as he slammed her to the ground, preparing to pierce her and rip her to shreds. However, he would never even get the chance, as Tanjiro would use venom-breathing 3rd form Frenzy Strike, and in one fell swoop, in one striking motion, all 4 of the demon's limbs would be stripped from his body, as he would be slammed to the ground with the sword to his throat. Yield, demon. You haven't won. I'll grow my limbs back. No chance in that happening. You're going to answer my questions now. I'm looking for your master. Where can I find Muzan? What? How do you know that name? Answer me! Fuck off! I won't ask you again. Tell me, where is Muzan? The demon, however, would be unable to speak, for in the very moment as he heard the name of his master, he would remember the chilling revelation the last time he had faced him. He would remember Muzan, giving him the stern warning to never speak of his name or to tell anyone of him, and that if he did so, then he would find out about it. Tanjiro would be a bit confused, as he could smell the scent of the demon, its rage and anger and bloodlust now turning into that of fear and anxiety, as if it feared something even greater than the sword to its neck. Venom could also pick up on this feeling as well. He could tell that this demon, it knew something, some connection to Muzan, something that he couldn't fully understand. He would know that among even the symbiotes, there were some that were connected telepathically, that were able to understand one another's feelings. Venom explained that in a way, this wasn't too far different, the condition between the symbiotes and the demons. It all seemed to tie together, although how and fully, and just how far this connection went, that had to be explained. Rather than speak a word of his master, the demon instead will launch a desperate attack at Tanjiro. With no choice, Tanjiro would behead him in one swift motion, putting an end to his life quickly and efficiently. However, the only thing that lingered now was the gross smell of fear. With the fight over, he would go to Nezuko to see if she were alright. She were resting all the same, seeing that her wounds were now healing as she slept, giving volition to his master's words that she indeed only needed to sleep in order to regain her strength. With the demons now defeated, the sun would begin to rise on the village. With this mission now complete, Tanjiro would walk out of the gates as quietly as he had came in, no one aware except for those who he had saved that night, making sure that the young girl was taken back to her home safely. He would begin his descent out of the town, as his crow would appear by his side to tell him of his next mission, that he would be going to the city of Asakusa, as there was word of another demon in the area. Tanjiro being a bit tired and feeling as though he hadn't gotten a chance to rest, the crow would simply pester him forward. Eventually, by the end of the night, he and Nezuko would find themselves in the great city, being enamored by the big city and its feeling, seeing a train for the first time and being in awe of the bright lights, almost being too much for him and even Nezuko to take in. Eventually, after hustling and bustling and making their way through the city, they would eventually find themselves on the outskirts of town, stopping to catch their breath. They would arrive to a udon noodle stand. Venom, now feeling entirely hungry, he would tell Tanjiro to order the yam with the roasted duck. Tanjiro feeling a bit tired of eating duck all the time, although Venom would not have any exceptions. He would take his extra large bowl and he would start to eat, Venom primarily helping him to wolf down all of the food, leaving the stand owner rather shocked at how much he had eaten. However, before he had a chance to finish, another scent would hit his nose, causing him to drop the bowl to the ground.
Tanjiro, you idiot! You just wasted perfectly good duck. Give me one good reason why I shouldn't. Shh. Not now. It can't be. Why is that smell here? What? Are you ignoring me? You just wasted a perfectly good meal. That roasted duck is now going to go to waste. No! I need to go.
Before Venom even had a chance to protest, Tanjiro would already be rushing back towards the city as quickly as he had left. Venom not even curious, as he could tell his partner was in a bit of a worried state. He could feel his heart racing a lot faster than normal, anxiety feeling him from within.
What's wrong with you? You act like you've seen a ghost.
It's the smell.
It's the smell, Venom. I can't get over it. What do you mean? Just what scent are you picking up? I can smell a powerful demon. Wait. Is this the one you've been looking for, kid? Yeah. There's no mistaking it. It was the smell at my house when I got there. He's the one. It's Muzin.
As Tanjiro would move through the crowd quickly, his hand at the hilt of his blade, he would soon see the silhouette of a man in a suit, wearing a hat. As he reached and grabbed the man by the shoulder, he would turn slowly as Tanjiro would come face to face with the killer. However, the anger that had been boiling inside of Tanjiro, and now even transferring over to Venom, was now subsided by an even more perilous threat. The man who was the killer, the man responsible for murdering and slaying Tanjiro's family and ruining the lives of others for 1,000 years. He was holding a young girl by his side, as well as a young woman who was accompanying him. They appeared to be his family, and Tanjiro could sense from their smells that they were indeed human. But how could they not see it? How could they not tell who this person was? They were in the presence of one of the greatest demons of all time, and yet they seemed to be clueless. All of these people, no one knew what was happening. The man asked Tanjiro if something were wrong, but Tanjiro wasn't sure of what to do. Venom could sense the anxiety within him, and he would warn him to think carefully. Even if they did engage in a fight with him, there was no telling if they would be able to come out on top, even if they gave it their all. And also, with all the civilians, he could easily make it look like an assault on Tanjiro's case, causing even more problems. As Tanjiro contemplated on what to do, the young man's wife and child also being a bit nervous to Tanjiro in his crazed state. Only in a split second, Tanjiro and Venom would see clear as day what Muzin had done. His fingernails had been elongated just long enough as a young man was passing by with his wife. He swiped and clawed at the back of the man's neck, and almost instantly he would fall to the ground, thriving and yelling in pain, feeling the transformation starting to take over his body. As Tanjiro could see what was happening, the young man, now feeling as if he were about to change, would appear, ready to bite at his wife. However, before he would get the chance to do so, Tanjiro would use the black whips to hold the man down. Using his arm sleeve and his symbiote-covered arm, he would allow the man to bite. However, as he did so, it would only break away at his teeth, as the symbiote had hardened itself to keep him from causing any trouble. The wife being worried as to what was happening to her husband, Tanjiro would grab a piece of cloth and use it as a muzzle, holding him down and trying to keep him from attacking any of the other citizens. In the chaos and confusion, Muzin would leave with his wife and child, wanting to get them as far away from the situation at hand. Although now he was curious of the young boy with the Hanafuda earrings, for he was not an ordinary demon slayer. To actually know who he was and to know what he was looking for. And for whatever reason, he could not smell him at all. He was something entirely different, with a power that he couldn't fully understand. But whatever it wasn't demon at all. Venom would tell Tanjiro that Muzin was starting to leave, urging him to go after him, that this might be their only chance. However, Tanjiro knew that he couldn't leave. He couldn't leave and let this man suffer. He had to help him. Tanjiro cursed himself for being left, for being stuck in this state. However, in his final act of defiance, he would yell out in earshot amongst the crowd This isn't over. I hope you hear me, Muzan. As far as I'm concerned, I promise you, no matter where you go, no matter where you run, you will not escape me. Do you hear me, Muzan Kibutsuji? I know who you are, and I will hunt you down to hell and back, and my blade will be the last thing you see. Do you hear me, Muzan? Tanjiro's outburst would be drowned throughout the crowd, the people unsure of who or what he were yelling at. The well-dressed man taking his wife and child far away, also confused, not knowing who or what the young boy were talking to. As the man calmly escorted his family home, he, however, had a serious look on his face. He knew who that boy was talking to, and he knew exactly what he was trying to say. That young man was calling him out, and he knew very well that he was far from an ordinary demon slayer. Whoever he was, the boy with the Hanafuda earrings had now gotten the attention of the most dangerous demon in the world. This concludes What If Tanjiro Had Venom? Demon Slayer Dark Fury, Part 2. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and all other content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Remember that everything you do helps and supports the channel, and it allows us to grow the core and grow the brand as we are on the road to 2K and beyond. Stay tuned for What If Spider-Man Was in ReZero, The Princess and the Spider, Part 2, coming out tomorrow. That's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.